Hey guys, I'm Corey Davis. I'm going to go through 8 stretches and mobilization routines that I like a lot. And I say stretches and mobilization routines because there are a couple of things I'm going to do here are like passive poses that we're just going to get into and stretch and try to lengthen muscle where we're not restricted and can move well. And then we're going to do a lot of things that actually require mobility. So we're actually going to move around. And for me, that is a lot more useful for most people that I work with because the point of being flexible is to be able to move something with it. You want to be able to put your body into a good position. So for me, it's not all about stretching all the time. It's about like movements. So I'll do more like yoga flows than I do like yoga poses typically. But I do think there are a couple that are worthwhile, and I'm actually going to start off with those. So the first thing we're going to do is something called a couch stretch. And it's called a couch stretch for a couple different reasons. One, the guy who came up with it, Kelly Surratt, who's very, very smart, wanted something that you could market well and be memorable. And two, it's something you can do casually while you're watching TV. You can do it on your couch. He claims that he does it like in the movie theater watching a movie, which I don't know if I buy, but if anybody does it, it's him. So I'm going to use a fake yoga block right here. This is actually a tool we use to bench press with. I'm going to use this yoga block right here, and I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to stick it back up on this couch. You'll also see people, or on this box, it's going to serve as our couch. You'll also see people do it with a wall sometimes. It's a little bit easier. So my back foot is up, and we're just going to hold this position for a little bit. You're going to try to relax into this position. You're going to get a big stretch all through your quads and your hip, depending on how you're built, maybe even your low back. We're using this yoga block right here to help support that position. We don't have to do that. It's just a little bit easier. And hang out right here. Trying to keep our foot pointed up so it's not out to the side. It's kind of hanging on the top of that box right there. We're going to hold this for a while. So I'm going to try to do a minute right here, starting now. Even though this is uncomfortable, I'm going to try to breathe the entire time. So taking big, deep breaths. As I'm getting more comfortable, sink down a little bit lower just by moving the yoga block. Now from there, I'm going to try to lean forward a little bit. So I'm getting that hip to go from bent here to locked out. So the stretch deepens a lot right here. Now that I've been here for a while, I can start moving my hips around a little bit, one way and the other way. And also focus on flexing that glute, driving everything forward even harder. And relaxing. Flexing that glute and relaxing. And the entire time I want to be able to take a breath. I don't want to be in any position that's so uncomfortable that I can't breathe. There's a lot of stuff that's working hard right here. So the ability to breathe through is really important. Now we'll trade sides and work the other way. That first starting position is too uncomfortable. We can start with this knee down, getting that calf stretch. little bit. Go ahead and get to a vertical position here. Same thing, we're just going to stretch through this position for as long as we need to. We'll do about a minute here before we progress it. Going more upright, so I'm feeling more of a stretch here, or I can lean forward, but I find this one to be the most challenging right here. Good. So that is the couch stretch. We're going to go from that into a very simple little adductor stretch for the hips. So we're just going to get right here. We're going to take our right ankle, set on our left knee, and then we're going to press down on that right knee. So we're opening up the hips a little bit, and we're getting into that piriformis to a certain degree too. Very simple stretch you can do about anywhere. Very easy. You want to try to get that knee to not start off up here, get it to lie down flatter. I've seen a couple of smart guys will take their elbow and kind of dig into those adductors as well. Kind of give yourself a little bit of that self-myofascial release, give yourself a little bit of that self-massage. Try to help everything get nice and loose. We're going to hold this position for about a minute on each side as well. Still want to keep breathing, even if it's painful. Good. Then we'll trade sides. So for me, this left side's a little bit tighter. It's not abnormal to have some imbalances. But in general, you want to try to fix them as best you can. So if I notice this left side's a little bit tighter, spend some extra time on it. I won't today. This isn't for me, this is for you guys. But probably a good idea for me to spend a little bit extra time on this left side in the future. And like some smart people before me, use that elbow, kind of dig into some of those muscles. All right, we're gonna do one more, what I would call legitimate stretch, probably what most people think of when they think of stretching. And this one also has some great marketing behind it. It's something they call the world's greatest stretch. We're gonna take 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. We're gonna get into this position right here. We're then going to try to stretch away from that bent knee. Trying to twist our upper body. Then once we twist as far as we can and hold, We're gonna then come back the opposite way, try to open up. Let's just go ahead and go through that 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll trade sides. Nice. So that is the world's greatest stretch. You can do that as many times as you want. I usually stick to 5 to 10. So now we'll get into some of the other mobilizations that I think are very effective. So first thing we're gonna start off with is something called a bent knee iron cross. So we are going to lie down flat on our backs. We're going to pull our knees up into the chest, making a 90-degree angle right here. We're gonna lie the hands out to the side, palms up. We're gonna drop the knees towards one side and look in the opposite direction. Just like all the others, we're gonna breathe from that position and then go back the other way. Go back and forth 5 times. As we do this, we're not only stretching out our whole torso, we're also getting a little bit in that pec. That's why we want hands up, not down. Nice. Next, we're gonna go into something called a V-sit rollover. This is actually my favorite one to do. I think it's a great indicator of how flexible you are. And it's also one that I personally do before any time I deadlift. So arguably the most dynamic, dangerous thing I do with my low back. This is one of my favorite ways to kind of clear and make sure that I'm ready to perform. And I do a couple different variations. So on that V-sit rollover, we're gonna be here in a V-sit position. We're going to lean forward, get a little stretch right there. And especially on the first one, we might hold that a little bit longer. And then we are going to roll backwards. As we roll backwards, we're gonna try to touch our toes back onto the floor behind us. Now, if that doesn't happen on the first try, that's not the end of the world. We're gonna do many reps of this. Hopefully by the end, we get back there. And maybe it doesn't happen for you the first time you ever try this stretch, but it is absolutely one of my favorites. So now I'm here, I'm gonna roll backwards. And then come back and stretch again. I'm gonna do 5 of these. I'm gonna change up how I'm doing them. I think that's 4. Do one more just like this. Now I'm to a point where I need to actually grab and kind of pull forward and finish that stretch off. Last regular one. Now I'm gonna go a little bit faster, and as I come forward, I'm gonna change it up from a V-sit to a couple of different poses here. So I'm gonna roll forward, roll back, and then I'm gonna lean back. I'm just gonna do a little pendulum back and forth with my low back and hips. So I'm here, roll back. And then move on. So next we're gonna address the hips. Do something called a fire hydrant. So I'm gonna start here, elbows locked out in a quadruped or hands and knees position. And then just roll that hip forward. So do 10 forward and 10 back. Notice I keep my elbows locked the whole time because it is very easy, it can be misleading to start here and start bending over, so then it seems like your hips are getting up higher than they are, but really you're just bending over. So I want to keep those elbows locked. Next, from that same position, we're now going to stretch our legs back out, get into a push-up position, and I'm going to take my left foot and stick up outside of my left hand, and hold. Now I'm ready, I'm going to jump and switch to the opposite side. Hold, but this time not quite as long. Now I'm not really going to hold them at all. Just going to jump back and forth, stretching out these hips. Our body's going to be able to do what it's prepared to do. So by doing these things, starting off slow, getting more dynamic as we go along, it's going to prep our body to be safe for just about any movement. Last one is something called a lying Y-handcuff. Great shoulder exercise to make sure that you're getting away from that rolled forward position. So we're going to lay down on the ground. We're going to raise our hands up into a Y. And then from here, go back into the handcuff position. We're going to knock out 10 of these. And there you go. That is a very thorough and very effective full body warm-up routine. Help you feel better. That's something you could do before workouts to help improve performance. That's something you could do after workouts to help facilitate recovery and put you back in a state where you're ready to move on, get ready for the next workout. Or you can do it as a standalone mobility routine. Hope you guys enjoyed that.